Okay, so I'll just officially introduce myself. So I'm Mandy Young. Welcome to our weekly wilderness webinar. Our focus this evening is looking at traditional versus shared leadership in organizational cultures. And our amazing hosts this evening are Joseph. You'll hear him as I've done a bit of a PowerPoint, but you'll hear his voice talking about all the different aspects of the Maasai culture. And we're going to look at some video footage on the elephants, some of them actually from Amboseli. So the process is just to jot down any notes, thoughts, ideas that you have as we progress. So I think we were hoping to have Arthur Kamazi on the call tonight. He's the world leader in evolving organizational cultures. He's written a book called The Monkey King. And talks on TEDx about the 5 pillars of evolutionary organizational culture. But he just flew into Dubai. You just flew out of Dubai, didn't you, Robin? He's just flown into Dubai and probably has got caught up in a business meeting or something like that. But we'll continue our conversation as we share this recording. I love to show participants some kind of video footage because I believe in experiential learning, not just learning by listening to a lecture. I think when you carry this image in your head, it lasts a lot longer than when you're just reading words on a page or listening to a voice. I'm quite a visual person, so I quite like seeing things to really integrate them into my mind. So I'm going to start off, I think I'm going to start off with the traditional culture. Joseph, are you okay with your Zoom link? You can last for a while, or do we need to start with you rather? In case you drop off.
I'm very much okay. It can last for I think a time. So
okay, you'll be okay. All right, so let's start with looking at the elephants, because I think the elephant matriarch really reminds me a lot about traditional leadership, and we can maybe talk a little bit after that about the pros and cons of traditional leadership, and then move into a shared cultural leadership where I'm going to allow you to see the PowerPoint with Joseph speaking about the Maasai community, because I think they very much exemplify shared leadership and a cultural organizational community of shared leadership. So I'm just going to share my screen and we're going to look at a couple of videos on the elephants. They're quite short, but they're going to be 3 of them. Can you see this okay? It says, you can see an elephant coming in on the side and it says elephant herd.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get this started.
We have no sound, Mandy. I don't know if there should be sound.
I think it doesn't really matter so much the sound. The behavior is really more important, but there is a beautiful song playing.
Oh, no worries. Just
see if I can. Okay, I'm just going to, can you hear the sound now?
Can hear you, but I can't see the video now. Sorry,
Okay.
I'll
No, can you hear the
get quiet.
sounds playing in the background? Okay, so I'm gonna,
No.
okay. Any,
We can have it with no sound. If we don't need sound, we can just, we're watching the dynamics.
yeah, the behavior is the most important more than the sound. So
Yeah, that's
let me just share again and go on to the second video. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to go on to the third one. Okay. So I know Joseph and John seen elephants all the time, and this picture behind me is the view that you can get from the Inkankari village with Mount Kilimanjaro and elephants walking through. So it's a very magical place. But from what we've kind of been watching so far, would you agree that this is kind of a traditional leadership style?
I'm happy to speak up.
Right.
I think that just what I mean, majestic, just beautiful creatures to watch. But watching, particularly going across the road, so taking the lead, creating the pathway for others, using strength and sort of size and scale to be able to be authoritarian, follow me, do as I ask.
But you can feel like the whole physical presence kind of contributes to that style of leadership.
You would not have been crossing that road, would you? As a car, you would have just stopped. You were not going to argue with that leader that what was happening was what was happening. But what I was sort of also picked up was real care as well. That whether it was a duty or whether I mean, who knows? But a sense of real care to bring everybody across. They were.
So it was kind of like inclusive kind of care.
It did feel inclusive. Everyone mattered. That she was not going to leave anyone behind, was she?
Okay. No, I love those. I love those things that you brought out. I think also from some of the previous ones, the very first one, again, that incredible physical presence, but also just this very clear intent. In the very first video where she was walking across, sometimes when there's really a drought kind of period in Amboseli, she knew where to go for water. It almost gave me the feeling like, when a leader goes deep down inside of themselves and they really know that without any doubt whatsoever, this is going to be the direction, this is the purpose, this is the intent, and there's going to be no deviation from that. And even the way her elephant tusks almost were like an arrow pointing straight forward, and just generated. So I think these are some of the pros of traditional leadership, I guess. It's a very trusted, the person is a very trusted person. They have an inherent level of experience. You can trust that to create stability in challenging situations, like when the little elephants had to go across the road and they were vulnerable. It's a very slow, steady pace. There's no panic, no chaos. It's just very determined, very slow, very steady. And the little bit, I know I've had a little bit longer to look at some of these videos, but the little bit where they were all coming out of the water at Amboseli, and then you looked back and you saw this whole train of elephants. For me, that just spoke a little bit about vision and about direction, and having a futuristic kind of vision, from the past to the future. Again, just knowing what the resources were, knowing what exactly to do in a specific moment. So I think those are the positives about traditional leadership that the elephants an elephant matriarch really stands out for. But sometimes when we apply traditional leadership, there's some negatives. I'm not saying this refers to the elephants, but I think there are some negatives in traditional leadership. Anything anybody would like to kind of maybe bring to the fore or mention?
Well, it seems that the other elephants have kind of put their trust in the leader and was following where the leader went, and they were all doing it in single file. So none of the other elephants were kind of breaking out from that file and going their own way. They were all working together very much as a herd. So I think that there's some great parallels that you've drawn, Mandy and Amy, from this. I would say, I would caution taking it too much further, because they're elephants. So they have developed in a way which utilizes their herd mentality, their behavior, the way in which they think, the way in which they interact with their environment. And over the eons, they've determined that that's the best way forward. I think within our traditional leadership, we are trying various different things. Some of it works and some of it doesn't.
Sure. No, and I agree. I think some of the things you've even highlighted there, Robin, that in our tradition, you know, they are very adapted to their own environment. And why I like to use animals or people like the Maasai, who live very much interconnected with each other, very interconnected with all the wildlife and environment that they live in. They have so much to teach us, not because we're not Maasai or we're not elephants, but because two things, I guess, because the limbic part of our brain goes back to that in essential bonding and survival, which is still very exemplary in the way Maasai communities or elephant herds kind of operate, but also because they just highlight some of the things that for us we've sometimes forgotten. You know, so it's not like we have to be exactly the same, but we just have so many things we have to remember. And I think in our world, that is where we're so disconnected, sometimes with ourselves, with each other, with our environment. It brings us back to that kind of connectedness. But I like what you said, because, you know, if you're paralleling that to a human situation or a human business situation, you know, some of the negatives maybe about traditional leadership is it doesn't give way for creativity. You know, you have to follow the rules, you have to have the red tape, you have to be safeguarded, and sometimes it doesn't allow for creativity, it doesn't allow for new ideas, it doesn't allow for advancing ideas. So I think that's very valuable as well.
And I also just, I suppose, building on what you're saying there, Mandy, and thinking about what might be some of the disadvantages. And I suppose thinking back to what Joseph was saying in terms of that conservation work and climate change being a global crisis.
Sure.
Just thinking about that might be that the environment has changed. So that matriarch elephant may know everything that they knew about the environment as it was. But as the environment fundamentally changes, they might not have that inherent experience to be able to lead that, you know, that group of elephants, that herd, to the water, to the right place, because that place has changed.
Sure.
And if you are only relying on the person that's got the most experience of the past, how do you, when that environment changes, thrive in that? When that environment is disrupted, how do you then fundamentally change and take different action?
Yeah, that's
going through my head.
No, I love that. And I think on that note, I'm going to take you into the PowerPoint video with Joseph's voice, because I think some of that really does come in towards the end of the video. So let me share this again. Seem to have gone all over the place now. Oh gosh, I hope I haven't. Let me just, I'm going to have to just give me a moment here. Just going to have to get it up again. think in trying to shut it all down, I closed the whole internet. I think, yeah, there we go. Okay, can you see this, or do I need to stop and share again?
We can see it.
Okay, brilliant. Just trying to make it bigger. Hold on. Oh,
There is no sound.
oh no, how are we going to deal with that? Let me just see
Right.
here.
I think what you need to do is come out of your close everything down, and then open everything up again and share your screen, and there will be a tick box. So you have to close everything down.
Even the
Stop sharing.
Zoom. Okay, I've
It
stopped
might
sharing.
even be the Zoom that you have to close down. But what you then do is click share screen,
Yeah.
and there should be a tick box there, which is asking you to.
And I think I might have got it. Let me just
Yeah.
try that again and see if we can. Can you hear it now?
No, you can hear it, but we can't.
Okay. The other thing I can do is show you the PowerPoint and play Joseph's videos. Or Joseph, you know what? I'm going to, let me stop sharing. I'm going to show the PowerPoint, and Joseph, you can just speak. Is that okay? And you can.
The other alternative, the other alternative is to show the videos, but to highlight the captions so that we get the captions.
Yeah, I
And we
think
can
I
read
haven't
those.
done a lot of captions because I had Joseph's wonderful voice.
Right.
Let me get the PowerPoint up. Because he explained it so beautifully, actually.
Or else maybe excuse me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Maybe I can share the video on my side. Maybe let me check whether I can get it. When it is
Okay,
a bit.
I've got the PowerPoint up here. So what
Okay.
I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Slideshow start. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So one of the things I just wanted to highlight that these are some of the values which I quite like. I'm just going to start with that of the Maasai culture: responsibility, courage, respect, wisdom, humility, honesty, and hope. So those are some of the beautiful values that this community carry. And as we go through each slide, if you can just talk a little bit. So we're going to start off with the children. So Joseph, or even John, if John's still on, you can just talk a little bit about the children. I've got a couple of slides for the children. So there's one with them planting trees after this one, and then one with them looking after the goats after that. So if you can just speak into this, Joseph. You'll have to take your, you've got your sound off.
Okay,
There we
sorry.
go.
Thank you. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the children, the roles of the children in the community, and maybe the responsibility of the children.
Okay.
According to the picture that we have, these are the preschool children, the nursery school children who are usually taught in the kindergarten just near the village. One of the major roles of the children, usually in Maasai community, there initially, education was not the first priority of the child. Before civilization, the main responsibility that a child is told when she is young, at the tender age of 5 years, they're usually told on how to look after the goats, how to look after the sheep, and the cattle. So at the age of 5 to 6 years, that is the time the child who is going to train them on how
Oh dear. I think Joseph's
the
freezing a
main
bit.
role of the child is just to help. So usually the main duty, the main responsibility of the child is just to help the parent, but in that sector of looking after the goats. And maybe I can make a point clear. This point of looking after the cattle is usually only for the boy child. There's only the boy child who usually looks after the goat, the sheep, and the cattle. On the other side, the girl child, they usually help the mother for house chores. That is maybe washing utensils, going to fetch the water according to the volume or to the capacity that the child can accommodate and carry it. Going to fetch for the firewood just in the surrounding from the bushes just around, but only with the guidance also of the mother. They cannot just be allowed to go to the forest by themselves because they might encounter the danger, the wild animals which may harm them. So usually they go with the company of the parents, that is the mother. So
Maybe I
I
just
think that
want
is
to add a little bit in there. I've been with John once, and a little boy was looking after the goats, and a hyena came up, and the little boy went after the hyena. Hi, hi, hi. I said, John, don't you think we should help him? And he said, no, that little boy is going to make it. But he said, the most important thing is that that child needs to learn that if the goats don't survive, then the community doesn't survive. And if the community doesn't survive, well, then the child doesn't survive. So right from an early age, they get taught about the value of how to contribute into the community. Is it okay if we move on to the woman? Okay, so this is a little bit about how you see some of the children there helping. So here we were, because Joseph was talking, well, he'll talk a little bit more about the end, but because of culture, because of climate change, the Maasai people are having to move from being purely pastoralists to also being agriculturalists. And here we are digging trenches, filling it with elephant dung for fertilizer. And you can see here how the children are very active in helping. And the previous slide we saw, they were helping plant trees. This is the woman. I'll just do a little bit of this. They love to sing and to dance. They're very happy people. And what I love about it is, as the same as with wild animals, and I'm not comparing Maasai people to wild animals, but they just do something very similar. If a wild animal is going to hunt, it'll become very tense and then prepare for the hunt, go for the hunt, and then whether it gets the prey or it doesn't, it'll just shake itself off. And it doesn't carry around a lot of stress. And I think the Maasai people, they dance for many different reasons, but one of the things I think is they shake off their problems with dancing, and they connect with dancing and communicate with dancing. So this is a little bit. You see also the beautiful beadwork. This lady there, I think I'm right, Joseph, you'll have to correct me. This is John's wife. This is the lady who will be giving birth in 2 weeks' time or sometime soon. So that's John's wife. Okay, we'll carry on now. Oh, just want to, trying to just go fast forward here onto the next slide. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Joseph, you can carry on about some of the duties of the woman.
Okay. I was just smiling because as I was seeing the women dancing, I just saw my mother in the
Oh,
video.
really? Oh,
So
wow. You
that is
should have told us which
yeah.
one. Oh, beautiful.
So the role of the women, the woman in Maasai community, most of the roles in the community, they usually lay on the hand of a woman. Some of the role, if I can mention, is they fetch for the water, they go fetch for firewood, they are the one to do the house chores, that is like maybe cleaning, everything that entails all the works inside the house. They are the one to do that work. On top of that, they are also responsible for constructing the Manyata houses. That is the huts. You can see in the picture, the women are sitting near the Manyata house. So these Manyata houses is constructed by the women. So usually, maybe I can elaborate on the Manyata house, how they build it, how everything that they do about it. It is usually the material used to build the Manyata houses are the tree branches and the cow dung and the mud. So they usually meet in groups. For example, now in a village, maybe we have a population of 30 to 40 women. All these women, they meet together, they build one house, so one house per time. So maybe they are building this, for example, for my mother. All the women in the village, they build that first. Then after they have finished and they are through with everything, they go to the next. So they do works in group. And they usually go to the forest, the nearest forest in the compound. They get the tree branches which they are going to use to build the houses. The poles which they will be used as the pillars of the houses. Maybe you can see at the bottom of the picture, you can see just a tree branch which is acting as a pillar for the house. On top of it, the mud, they mix the mud with the cow dung, of which this thing they usually do during the rainy season, because on the dry season, the waste material from the cow, they are usually sometimes pellets. And if
Yeah, I think Joseph's frozen a little bit. Oh, you froze a little bit for a while.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
On top of, oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I thought it was
carry on.
if I can explain about the beadwork.
Okay.
Like you can see the grandmother there is doing some kind of beadwork, trying to make something. So the beadwork is one of the economic activity that the Maasai women do, because like for example, I saw one you have in your hand. I have also one in my hand. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this material usually made from the beadwork. It was very fortunate that the tourists who usually visit Amboseli, they like that thing. Yeah, the product of the beadwork. So the women in Maasai community, they take that opportunity to sell this product of the beads to the tourists who usually visit the Amboseli. You know, we live just near Amboseli National Park. So sometimes the tourists visit the villages to see the culture. And now the women in the society, they take that opportunity to sell the product of the beads to the tourists. So it is one of the economic activity that is really helping the Maasai women. So I think those are some of several roles that the Maasai women usually do. And I have said earlier, most of the work in the community usually lays in the hand of the woman.
Yeah, I think from all the things that you've told us, Joseph, it's amazing how many different talents and skills the women have, from fetching water to building houses to doing beadwork. And I love the way that they do it together, that they are so interconnected. And because of that interconnectedness, you can see the experience for me in that top right-hand corner. That was one of the leaders of the woman putting on some bracelets on my hands. I've never taken them off. So I've worn these for almost 8 years now. And it gave me an incredible sense of belonging. It was just such an amazing sense of belonging because they are so interconnected and so caring of one another. You just feel very welcomed and such a wonderful sense of belonging. So we'll move on now to, this is just a little bit about some of the women when we're doing the digging the trenches. You see here they've been out collecting all the elephant dung to put in those trenches. Try and move on here. Come on, trying to move on. There we go. Okay, so now these are some of the warriors, and before Joseph tells you a little bit about them, one of the things that you see here in this video is them jumping. Now, Joseph, you can explain more, but jumping, as far as I understand, the higher you jump, the more eligible you are as a bachelor for a new wife. Is that correct, Joseph? So if you have a look at how high they jump.
Yeah, it is very correct.
So if you can see how high that young man is jumping, it's almost waist height. You try and jump like that just from 2. It's really hard. It's quite impressive, actually. Do you want to say anything about that, Joseph? Did you want to say anything? Okay, I'll move on.
You just told me to say something about jumping.
Yeah, or why they jump.
Yeah, jumping is just part of the dance, but it also had a symbolic meaning because there initially, the higher you jump, the higher they value that you are somebody who is prestige. And
okay.
back in the culture, when there was no this education, this civilization, those warriors who jump higher, they usually win the heart of the girls.
Okay, but not so much these days.
Yeah, not these. Nowadays, after civilization, most of us we are now educated. We went to school, so the system that we know is the school system. We don't have much time at home trying to maybe cope up with the culture. And also our parents have known the value of a child, both the boy child and the girl child, so they don't allow that that bonding, which may bring about maybe some sorry to say, some girl child to drop out of school. That thing has usually harmed the girl child initially, but nowadays they have known the importance, the impact, the positive impact of the both children, both genders in the society. So that is the reason why they have tried to eradicate that kind of culture, and now it is fully swept from the Maasai culture.
Okay, so certain aspects of the culture that weren't adaptive have been shifted and changed. Okay. Okay, and then this is just a little bit, if you want to say a little bit about the warriors, how somebody becomes a warrior and what are their duties as a warrior.
Okay, thank you. As a warrior, currently me as Joseph, I'm a warrior.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your
So-
duty, Joseph?
Okay. So one, let me start off how you become a warrior.
Okay.
You usually become warriors after circumcision and after going through the initiation process. And circumcision usually takes
Joseph just
from between the age of 17 to 20 years. That is when you will be initially it usually takes 1 year. The initiation process takes 1 year. But due to education system, most of the children, or I can say most of the youth, they are in school most of the time. So now the initiation process can now take maybe 1.5 years or up to 2 years for it to be fully, for the boy child to be fully taught what is supposed to be told in the initiation process. That is the responsibilities as a warrior, the duties that you have to do as a warrior, how you have to behave as a warrior. Then after initiation, that is now the time where your father will now hand over a spear and the shield to you as now a warrior. And that usually symbolizes that now the defense of the community is now in your hands. So you are the one to protect the community. That is why they give you a spear and a shield. It is a symbol that you are now the defense of the community. On top of that, other responsibilities of a warrior is they are the source of energy in the community. Let me take, for example, if there is any cultural ceremony that is being celebrated, or even any individual ceremony that is going to be celebrated, it is the duty of the warriors, and they can never be reminded, but it is just their duty that they usually know that it is our duty to do this work, maybe slaughtering of the bull.
Yeah, and I think as
That
warriors,
is usually one of the biggest role that it is. Yeah, the process, the duration of becoming a warrior usually take between 15 to 20 years, because if you become a warrior at the age of 20, you are likely going to leave that stage of a warrior when you are at the age of 40.
wow.
And you are going to live as a group, as an age set.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And I think it's still, it's not a defunct role. I mean, in the community where they live, there are wild animals that roam around the village, and they have to protect the animals and the children from hyenas, from lions, from all sorts of things. So it's an active role as a warrior. Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll go on to being the eldest. So here's John. This is a picture, close-up of John. He's the leader of the Nkankare village, but he's one of the elders. So you could maybe say a little bit about the elders, Joseph.
okay. The elders, for you to become an elder and to be recognized by the community as the elder of the community at large, one, you should have met the demands of the culture. Like as a warrior, you should have done all the responsibilities, and you should have behaved as a warrior in your stage as a warrior. So as I've said earlier, as a warrior, it takes you from at the age of 20 up to the age of 40. So being an elder usually starts at the age of 40. And in the level of elders, they have two levels. We have the junior elders, and we have senior elders. Junior elders are between the age of 40 to 55. And then above 55, that is when where we have the senior elders. So the role of the elder is, one, there are people who have experience. And I usually hear a quote back then when I was in secondary school. There was usually a quote that says, old is gold. So somebody who is much old, they are very much valued, and they have a lot of experience. So they are the one to settle the disputes. And on top of that, they are the one to bless any cultural event that is going to be done. For example, now during initiation ceremony, when somebody is graduating to become a warrior, they are the one responsible to bless those people, those boys who are graduating to be warriors. So any kind of blessing that is being done by the village, by the community, they're the one to do that blessing. So it's like they are the intermediary between the community and God. They're the one to
Oh, wow.
interface between the community and God. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. We're just going to end very quickly because I know we've been talking for a while now. So just very sadly, this is some of the impact of climate change, and very sad. But it was nice to hear John say there's lots of rain and greenness and the cows are getting fat again. But as we were saying, and as Amy highlighted, you know, I think in Joseph's communication that we couldn't hear, you know, he was just saying how the elders were also those who used to be able to predict. They'd be able to predict when there was a drought, they'd be able to predict when there was rain. And just as Amy highlighted with the elephants, you know, they have this inherent knowledge, but now with climate change, all of that is changing, both for the elephants as well as for the Maasai elders. It's very hard for them to predict what's going to happen next. And this is a little bit about how they're moving from being just pastoralists to also being agriculturalists. And this is John. There's a lot of the vegetables that they're growing. In fact, he's doing so well that some of the other villagers are coming to have a look at what he's up to. And we have been trying to raise funds for a borehole because we've been trying to grow the sweet sorghum, but when it starts to become drought, then obviously it's challenging to keep the sweet sorghum alive. Sweet sorghum is just an amazing forage. It's amazing for the immune system. It's fodder for the cattle, so it's very resistant kind of crop. So that's kind of where we're at in the whole process. But I'm just going to stop sharing now. So thanks for your attention, Joseph. Thanks so much for yeah, it's getting a bit dark in here. You give me a minute. I'm just going to turn on a light. Oh. Sorry, can't find the light, so it's going to be a bit dark. So John, you back again. That's great. So any thoughts, you know, so I think when we look at traditional leadership compared to a shared leadership in a community culture, one of the things that kind of stands out for me, one is from top down and the other is from bottom up. And you see very much in the Maasai community, it starts from bottom up. You know, the children start to learn responsibility. Everybody has an incredible role to play, very diverse, but very, very caring, very interconnected, very supportive of one another. And for me, what always stood out with the Maasai community is that what is so important to us often in our lives is, you know, status and wealth and all those kind of things. What's most important in a Maasai community is what you contribute into the community. So for me, that very much is what shared cultural leadership is all about. If we had Arthur here, and I'd encourage you to listen to his TEDx talk on the 5 pillars of organizational culture. He also starts thinking about from the bottom up. So he talks about people within the organization have a greater purpose. So it's not like you belong to an organization that has a greater purpose, but within the organization, the people have a greater purpose. And they also want to be unified. And that greater purpose of each of the individuals form a bigger unification. Just like the community of the Maasai, they are very unified. Their purpose of protecting one another, of being responsible, all those values that I kind of read out at the beginning, it's kind of like the inherent personal purpose that becomes part of the unified community. And so for me, that kind of speaks a lot about a shared shared leadership, shared organizational culture. I think even Joseph pointed out, you know, that they, as a group, they become warriors, and as a group, they've changed from warriors to elders. You know, the women as a group build the houses, one for each family. You know, it's an amazing community organization and shared cultural organization. I'm not sure, Amy, if either or Robin, you have any other thoughts or ideas around that or comments?
Well, I've got a question for Joseph. I'd like to know what happens to the boys who don't become warriors for some reason or another. What do they do? How do they contribute to the society?
Sorry, maybe I've not gotten your question clear. Maybe were you talking about how the boy child contribute to the community before becoming a warrior?
No, what I'm asking is what happens if the boy child doesn't become a warrior? Or do all boys, as they mature into men, they all become warriors?
Okay. Oh, thank you. Let me explain a little. In our community, all the boys, they become warriors because one, it is a must for one to undergo circumcision, and it is also compulsory for one to go through initiation process. Maybe whether you are in school or you are not in school, but it is a must for you to go through the initiation process, and it is a must for you to become a warrior. Now the challenge comes here. After becoming a warrior, there are some habits that you have to follow, and there are some cultural practices that you have to follow. For example, now as a warrior, you are not supposed to eat food alone. So you make sure in times maybe you are taking any meal, you have to be two. You should be in groups. Maybe you are 2 warriors or 3 warriors, but you can never take any meal when you are just alone. You can't even drink water when you are alone. So maybe now, if you fail to follow that practice, that cultural practices of not eating alone, and you'd end up feeding yourself alone without presence of any other warrior, then you're going to be considered as an outcast, and you no longer become a warrior. So you just become.
Yeah, my understanding. Okay, sorry. Carry on, Joseph. I was just going to say something while you dropped off there. I was just going to say, I think circumcision for a Maasai to become a Maasai warrior and to have circumcision, quite a painful process. But I think because the young boys have been brought up so committed to community that it's worth it to go through that pain to become a warrior. And going through that pain is also showing your commitment to your community. It's their commitment of saying that they're going to be faithful to their community. They're going to be dedicated husbands. That's my understanding.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I forgot to say about the circumcision process. Yeah, as Mandy has said, it is usually a painful process because you are not supposed maybe to show any sign that it is painful. Yeah, if you are sitting when you are being circumcised, because you usually sit on top of the cow skin, you just have to stay in that state that you are until the circumciser is through with what he is doing. So it is quite maybe a painful process because you don't have to show any reaction that it is painful. You don't have to maybe to move a bit. No, because if you do so, then you're going to be considered as a coward. Yeah, you fear the process of which every other person has passed it. So why do you have to fear? So that is one of the things. It is usually painful, but it is fortunate that usually God helps us and the boy child to undergo through it and to successfully undergo without showing maybe any sign of being a coward. So maybe if as a warrior, if I make my point clear, those cultural practices that usually warriors have to go in groups, they have to maybe to do anything that they're doing in groups, to feed themselves in groups. I can emphasize there, the target of the community is usually to kill the selfishness that maybe one has it. So for you don't have maybe, I am Joseph from our family. Maybe there's another warrior from another family. He doesn't have to sleep angry.
Yeah, I think also for the protection of the community, you have to not show fear. You know, you have to be strong.
Hungry without.
And I think I would imagine
If
having to eat
my family
together.
can afford to have it. So I have to be in a company with that warrior, so that in case I get anything that usually target on killing, fail to follow and the other is one, you have to share this.
Yeah, and also there's strength in numbers, isn't there? Especially if your job is to protect the community. So I think their kind of Wi-Fi is running out.
There's some problem. So
Amy
I was saying,
okay.
Sorry, my network is somehow getting some problem, but I can still fix it.
Yeah, I think we've been going
Yeah,
for quite a while, so we'll end off quite soon. Joseph, you've really been very helpful in terms of everything you've shared. We deeply appreciate that. Hi, John, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back.
It's network is a problem.
Yeah,
It's
no, I know.
my network is problem here, and
I know.
also, so I am back now.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
I think Joseph told you about Orientalism. And
Yeah,
the warriors is starting.
Amy, was there anything else that you were wanting to comment on, or
10 years old to be maybe strong at least, and then we start to prepare to circumcise. Then after circumcision, there is some cloth but it's past it's pain is a little bit pain the time we go to circumcise, because we don't use any medicine. We so only naturally. We cut.
It's very brave.
Without any medicine. Then we go to, yeah, then we have we bring to the inside of the house, in rest there, stay there for maybe 2-3 months inside of the house, and then when you try to feed with the meat, a different type of meat soup, until you become okay. Then we come out when you wear the black sugar, to show you are still passing on that level of you are not a senior warrior. You are not a senior warrior. You are still you start to have some hairs, and you are also there's a time. Then you come and shave your hairs, and also your mother here shave your hairs, and then you have a little ceremony. Then you pass to go to be a warrior now. You're allowed to be a warrior. And by that time, there's many things.
John's dropped off. Okay, so I think it's quite a significant stage to become from a boy to a warrior. Amy, was there anything else you wanted to say, ask?
I was reflecting on the commonality between the traditional and the community leadership as you were talking about it, because they looked like there was real interconnectivity with the elephants.
Sure.
I was sort of listening to some of the things that John and Joseph were saying, and yourself, about sort of that as a group. We eat as a group, we build as a group. I thought that was really interesting, having those shared experiences and shared purpose. And it struck me that at the start of the presentation, you talked about shared values. So although I might be an individual in my own right going into an organisation, if I am connecting with the values of the organisation I'm joining and the purpose of that organisation, I too can be part of that community. So I was just reflecting on what you were talking there about, a really clear set of values, a really clear purpose for that community, and everyone had very clear roles in that community. So I was just really just reflecting on that as and thinking about what was said so far.
Oh, thank you, Amy. I think we've been talking for quite a while, and I'm not. So I think I'm going to end off for now. Very thankful to Amy and Robin for participating with us. Very thankful to Joseph and John for their incredible effort that they've made all the way from Kenya to educate us about the Maasai community in such a personal way. Really, really appreciate that. And just hope that everyone has an amazing rest of the evening. And I will get the video out and share it with everybody, and we can continue to communicate any ideas that still pop up. So have a great evening, and thanks for your contribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye, Joseph. Bye,
Bye.
Amy. Bye, Robin. Bye, John.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joseph.